Color guard, attention. Scout salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Color guard, advance. Color guard, advance. Color guard, post the flag of Troop 1257. Please recite the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard, honor your colors. Color guard dismissed. The audience may be seated.
Now will Christopher Scott please come up to give the invocation.
God, we thank you for this opportunity to come together as family, friends, church members, and fellow Scouts and Scouters in order to celebrate the accomplishments of Stephen Wilson. Today is a celebration of years of challenges and hard work, but also of accomplishment and determination. Today we recognize the character developed, the service given, and the eternal responsibility that comes with the rank of Eagle Scout. We ask for your blessing on Stephen, his family, his fellow Scouts and Scouters, and all those who helped him on the trail to Eagle. Continue to watch over Stephen as he takes the next step in becoming the Scout and person you desire him to be. Amen.
Now I'd like to ask Eric Miller, Troop 1257 Committee Chair, to please come forward to convene this Court of Honor.
Welcome. This is a very solemn and joyous occasion for Scouts. As you will hear later, there is a very small percentage of kids who go into Scouting that actually make it as far as Stephen has to the rank of Eagle. We are absolutely thrilled to be able to participate in this and to celebrate your accomplishment. With that said, as the committee chairman for Troop 1257, it is my pleasure to officially open the ceremony and get things underway.
Now I'd like to call upon Christopher Arnold and Jack Helton of Troop 1257 for the candle lighting ceremony.
As I light the right candle, let us be reminded of the Scout slogan, do a good turn daily. The Scout will do acts of kindness without expecting pay or reward. He will do a good turn without boasting or expecting recognition.
A Scout is trustworthy. A Scout tells the truth. He keeps his promises. Honesty is part of his code of conduct. People can always depend on him. A Scout is trustworthy.
A Scout is loyal. A Scout is true to his family, friends, school, nation, and world community. A Scout is loyal.
A Scout is helpful. A Scout is concerned about other people. He willingly volunteers to help others without expecting payment or reward. Scout is helpful.
A Scout is friendly. A Scout is a friend to all. He is willing to volunteer to help others without expecting payment or reward.
A Scout is courteous. A Scout is polite to everyone regardless of age or position. He knows that good manners make it easier for people to get along together. A Scout is courteous.
Scout is kind. A Scout understands there is strength in being gentle. He treats others as he wants to be treated. He does not harm or kill anything without reason. A Scout is kind.
A Scout is obedient. A Scout follows the rules of his family, school, and troop. He obeys the laws of his community and country. He thinks these rules and laws are if he thinks these rules and laws are unfair, he tries to have them changed in an orderly manner rather than disobey them. A Scout is obedient.
A Scout is cheerful. A Scout looks for the bright side of life. He cheerfully does tasks that come his way and tries to make others happy. A Scout is cheerful.
A Scout is thrifty. A Scout works to pay his way and help others. He saves for the future. He protects and conserves natural resources. He carefully uses time and property. A Scout is thrifty.
A Scout is brave. A Scout can face danger even if he is afraid, and has the courage to stand for what he thinks is right, even if others laugh at him or threaten him. A Scout is brave.
A Scout is clean. A Scout keeps his body and mind fit and clean. He goes around with those who believe in living by these same ideas. He helps keep his home and community clean. A Scout is clean.
A Scout is reverent. A Scout is reverent towards God. He is faithful in his religious duties. He respects the beliefs of others. A Scout is reverent.
Now we will have a few people tell stories about Stephen from his time in scouting. In this order they'll come up. Mr. C.J. Takis, Mr. Tom Scott, Mr. Dennis Hodges, and then Mr. Brian Hillary.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is C.J. Takis. I was Stephen's den leader when he first started Cub Scouts, along with the assistant den leader, Mr. Arnold. Stephen, I'm honored to be here today, but not just because we're celebrating your eagle, but because I had the privilege of watching you become a fine young man. I also appreciate the opportunity to reflect on the last 10 years, something we probably don't do often enough. And what you might not realize is that asking me to speak is a gift to me, because us old dudes can still learn and grow. When I first met Stephen, he loved sports, loved to be active. He had a huge, infectious smile. Still does. He wasn't exactly sure what this whole Scouts thing was about. Whenever he looked at a tree, he pretty much got stuffy. And he had very, very strong opinions about the Miami Heat. Now, I'm a little surprised he stuck with Scouts, not for anything that Stephen did. Phil can attest to this. We had no idea what we were doing. Based on what I know now, we were pretty terrible Tiger Den leaders. Scouts isn't school, and we did a lot of school stuff. We did a lot of talking, a lot of crafting, and a lot of sitting still. Slowly we learned, right? And Stephen seemed to have the best time when we called an audible, right? Which is whatever we had planned, we did something else. So I don't know if you remember, we had an obstacle course in the church, not the sanctuary. We had portable ping pong, and we had kick, throw, blow. So you probably don't have any idea what that is. It's you take a marshmallow and you have to kick it as far as you can, throw it as far as you can, and blow it as far as you can. So he pretty much would have been happy if all we had done is play ping pong and eat marshmallows, I think. But what I learned about Stephen over time, Stephen actually has a soft heart. He accepts other people as they are. What's always impressed me about his year of Scouts is that for the most part, they were all never best friends, but they always connected when they were. More like cousins that don't see each other very often. I'm sure some of you have experience with that. And Stephen was a really good glue for our den. There were a few roughhousey boys and a couple of not roughhousey boys. He was sort of in between. He was good at letting others know that he'd had enough. He was never mean, and he never held a grudge. Even then, he was a good role model. He had more patience with others than they probably had a right to ask him to be. He's quietly humble. There are a bunch of examples of this, but recently the troop, maybe in the last few years, went to a scout camp at Olmsted in Goshen. I'm sorry, yeah, it was Goshen. And there was just a pickup game of soccer. And the thing is, Stephen's pretty good at soccer. And he's good enough to make a lot of the other people there who just wanted to play look like they weren't playing the same game as he was. He could have overshadowed everyone, but he didn't. He let other kids play, especially younger kids play. He'd flash a little bit, but for the most part, he adapted to the moment, and everyone had fun. He also doesn't initiate smack talk, but he knows how to hold his own. I'm sure some of the other leaders will talk about this. He likes to be comfortable. Some scouts find the less comfortable parts of scouting easy, right? Being cold, camping in the rain, whatever, but not so much Stephen. He likes his comforts, his sleep, and his chill time. He even had to leave one of his first scout camps a little early because he was kind of blowing up like a balloon, right? He was not very happy at all. But the thing is, even then, I knew Stephen had grit. He never whined. He complained very little, at least to us. You could always tell when he was unhappy, though. He couldn't hide that. But despite that, he always pushed through. Stephen could never swim very well, and that was always a struggle for him. But in recent years, he's completely overcome that. So what I see now in Stephen, I see someone giving back to the troop, even though he has many other demands on his life and time. I see someone that isn't deterred from his goals by challenge and discomfort. In the last few years, he's done Jamboree, he's done Seabase, and Philmont. These are all things that are not very comfortable at all. And I see a role model and a leader. So Stephen, about that gift you're giving me, what did this old dude learn? I know now that fun doesn't require a plan. There are always new ways to look at things. And when things don't go your way, it's possible to bounce back. And the older I get, the more I need to hear that. I've also learned how to be a better parent. Watching Fred and Beth, with their influence and their expectations that they've set on you, they've been role models for me to evolve and grow. So role models can be anywhere you look for them. Even in those we are charged to teach and grow ourselves. Rosa Parks said, each person must live their life as a role model to others. And whether you realize it or not, Stephen, this is what you're doing. Every time you sit down with another scout, you're influencing lives. Being a role model can be a burden, but one I know you will bear well. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Scott. I'm really pleased to see so many people here today on this very special day for Stephen celebrating. I have to admit, when Stephen first asked me to speak about his Trail to Eagle, I was a little perplexed. The first thing I had to do was actually go back and figure out when his Trail to Eagle actually began. Because my son Christopher was in a different den. Stephen was in Mr. Takis's den. And kids start Cub Scouts at different times. I really wasn't sure what it was, so I could have just asked Stephen, when did you join Cub Scouts? But I'm a scout leader, I have lots of pictures, so I took the more difficult way, and I actually cracked open the Amazon Photos vault, and went back and back and back and back, and finally, I found it. There it was. There's a picture of Stephen. Stephen was about this tall, and he was getting his very first Pinewood Derby car kit at a PAC meeting of ours in December of 2009. So that's over 10 years ago that Stephen started Boy Scouts, or Cub Scouts. I was his Cub Master for much of his Cub Scout career, so I've had the pleasure of witnessing some of his very first steps on the Trail to Eagle. So let's remember a few of those together here. I think a lot of the kids here probably remember the police helicopter, right? Remember what happened to the police helicopter? It had to take off on an emergency right when we were trying to see the thing. So we got shortchanged there. Stephen also went to campouts at the Winchester Children's Museum, camping at Camp Snyder. We did den meetings, PAC meetings, Pinewood Derbies, blue and gold dinners, scouting for food, and of course our advancement ceremonies where Stephen progressed from tiger to wolf to bear to Webelos. But that's so Cub Scouts. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Let's talk about Boy Scouts. In 2014, we moved across the street from Community Faith to Episcopal Epiphany Church, where our troop meets. And I have to admit, when we found out we were doing the Eagle ceremony here for Stephen, my first knee-jerk reaction was I was a little bit surprised, because almost all of our ceremonies are over at Episcopal Epiphany. But then I actually thought about it. And I quickly realized this makes perfect sense. I know how much this church means to Stephen and his family. You walk around outside here, you see Stephen's Eagle Project, the sensory trail for autistic children. And I know there are people here today, I bet, who have bought a Christmas wreath from Steve. I know this congregation was very supportive of him. It was kind of funny. Every October, Steve would come up to me. He would say, Mr. Scott, how many Christmas wreaths do I have to sell to go to summer camp? And believe you me, Stephen, probably more so than any other scout in our troop, sold so many Christmas wreaths that he was able to fund most of his summer camp with the money that he raised doing Christmas wreaths. So I know Stephen has had what I would call a typical Boy Scout experience, but then capped off by some spectacular experiences, the ones that CJ and I know Dennis are probably going to talk about this afternoon. He went on campouts. He went camping on the USS New Jersey up in Philadelphia, went to summer camp. He earned some merit badges, but not just the first aid, the cooking, the camping. He actually earned some really interesting merit badges like fingerprinting and journalism. He was elected by his scouts to the Scout Honor Society, Order of the Arrow, and most importantly, he was elected to serve in the senior youth leadership position of senior patrol leader several years ago, which is a real testament to how much the scouts here all respect Stephen. And I'd like to add there that Stephen did an all-star job when he was SPL. I think, though, when Stephen is going to look back on his scouting career, he'll probably remember most the high adventure experiences he has, starting in 2017. 2017, along with Ian and Alex and Christopher, who are all here today, Stephen went to the Boy Scout Jamboree in West Virginia. And some of you heard this story before, but it's a good one, so I'm going to tell it again. That day that they were arriving at the Jamboree, I happened to be working at the Jamboree that year, and I had a day off. So I decided I was going to go meet them at their campsite, help them get set up. They always need a few extra hands. So I went over there, and they get off the bus, they haul all their gear down to the campsite, and I don't really like to be critical of people, but the youth leadership in the Jamboree troop, no one in our troop, but they were all kind of slacking. They were checking their phones, they're eating a sandwich, drinking some water, not doing a whole lot. And in the meantime, our guys, led by Stephen and Alex and Christopher and Ian, kind of put up the whole campsite. They set up all the tents, half the dining flies, and they did a great job. So I know that's something I'll remember from that day. I don't know what happened on takedown. I'm assuming other people pitched in, but but I know they did a great job setting up. I was very fortunate to go with Stephen this past summer to Philmont. And CJ mentioned Philmont a little bit. It's not easy at all. Philmont, you're hiking 6 to 8 miles a day, backpack on your back, you're cooking your backpacking meals, you're drinking your filtered water, you're doing an activity, you're hanging bear bags, or you're trying to hang bear bags, and then you're trying to get some sleep, and you repeat it all over again the next day for 10 days. So it's kind of tough out there. Stephen also had the pleasure of our sister crew from Texas, and some good-natured nicknames that were real good on day 1, but probably not so good on day 10, right? But Philmont is a lot of work. There's no TV, there's no phones, but it is one of the best experiences that you can ever have. And I just noticed here that actually the entire Philmont crew that Stephen went to Philmont is here today. So why don't you guys all stand up? All 9 of them, plus our 3 leaders are here today. So Philmont, as I said, is hard, but definitely Stephen and the entire crew did their full share. They carried the load literally on their backs. But also in Philmont, I discovered that Stephen, despite all the praise we're heaping on him today, is not perfect. There was many times on the trail, I was having this discussion with both Stephen and DeBarcy, who's here. I was trying to disavow them of this misconstrued notion that the NBA is better than college basketball. I was not able to do that. I'm still going to work on that. But I do want to point out, and this is true, look it up, there was a game this year when the Washington Wizards scored 158 points, and they lost. Not making it up. It's true. It's true. So remember that, Stephen. So Stephen, your trail to Eagle is coming to a close, but I know that your trail as an Eagle is just beginning. Stephen's a little younger than most of his peers, so he still has some time to give back to the troop. And in fact, just this past weekend, during our youth leadership training, Stephen came out that morning and helped, even though he didn't have to. So I know he's going to continue to do things like that to help the troop, and I think we'll be much better for all his contributions. So Stephen, congratulations. Your trail to Eagle is complete. Fred and Beth, congratulations. You've raised an awesome son. And your trail to Eagle is also complete. Don't be a stranger, Stephen. You've earned Scouting's highest honor. I know you're going to wear it well.
Good afternoon. Your sanctuary is very beautiful, and I just have to say that. I feel privileged to be here. I consider Stephen to be one of my own. I grew up in a church a lot like this one. It was a Baptist church, and it was a strong community. And in that community, I learned that you judge a man by his character, which I'm sure is why Stephen turned out the way he did. So I thought, and I was trying to remember the very first time I met Stephen. And the first memory I have of Stephen was he was all knees and elbows. He was about 11 years old. It was one, you remember that time, you were about this tall and you were about that big around. He's much bigger than I am now. Most of the boys grow to be bigger than I am. We were on what we call a advancement camp out, which when the new boys come into the troop, they're about 11 years old, and we try to set up a couple of campouts so they can learn their knots and how to use a stove and the basic skills that we consider to be the outdoor skills that they need to succeed. And every time I looked up, Stephen was asking me or someone else, "How do we do that again? Can you show me?" And then it was quickly apparent that Stephen was very interested in advancement, because every camp out we went on, which is about every month for folks that don't know, he would be standing there every time I looked up with his book. "Mr. Hodges, can you work with me a minute, or can you sign off on this requirement?" So Steve showed very early on that he was determined to advance and to learn the skills. And I remember how much that impressed me. Also, fair warning, I am descended from a primitive Baptist preacher, so I tend to go on. I have already gotten guff from my peers that I talk too much. So, Mr. Wilson, give me a high sign if I go too long, okay? So that's a long way of saying that that determination, I think, brought Stephen here today. Stephen served as our chaplain's aide very ably. He was also elected to be our senior patrol leader, which is not an easy job. And what always impressed me about Stephen was that he was even-mannered. He would listen, which we all know is a key skill for a leader. And he would try to do the right thing. It's been my privilege to be part of his life, but I know who deserves the credit, and that would be Fred and Beth sitting at. I barely have enough courage to call Beth Beth. To me, she's always been Mrs. Wilson. So, but you owe your parents a deep, deep gratitude for what they've done. And I suspect that you owe many in this congregation that same thanks for supporting you and what you've done, Stephen. So here's your reminder. Don't forget that. Take care of your parents. Take care of these folks out here. Thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Wilson, for raising an awesome kid. He has a bright future ahead of him. Last summer, I had the privilege to go with Stephen and the rest of the Troop 1257 crew to the Philmont Scout Ranch. For those of you that don't know, this is not a little bitty camp. This is 225 square miles. We spent most of our time in what is known as the North Country, which is wilderness. We spent a lot of our time. There was no trail. We were using our map and compass to figure out where. Oh, Mom's eyes got bigger, Stephen. You didn't tell her. There was no trail. We used our map and compass to navigate. And I remember a couple of conversations with Stephen, which was not uncharacteristic of conversation with Stephen, because as CJ, Mr. Takas, alluded to, Stephen wasn't so sure about this outdoors thing. He enjoyed it, but it's hard work. And there are bugs and stuff. But I had a conversation with Stephen, which was, why are we doing this? And I looked at Stephen and I said, because we can, because it's a challenge. Well, I've got a better answer for you today, Stephen. I'm going to try to explain it. So I'd like to remind that your journey to Eagle was similar to Philmont, and your journey in life will be more of the same. But I like to think of it this way. There are basically three types of fun. Type 1 fun is playing video games. It's hanging out with your friends. It's going to the movies. It's fun while you're doing it, and fun to talk about afterwards. Type 2 fun is a little bit more complicated. So type 2 fun is something that may not be fun while you're doing it. It's a challenge. It's a learning experience, and it'll be memorable. Now, if you ask any scout, scouter, Girl Scout maybe, volunteer, what they remember most about their experiences, 9 times out of 10, a Boy Scout or a Scouter is going to look at you and say, you know what? What was really interesting was that we went on this camp out, and it rained for 3 days, and it was a mudslide. And they'll recount that entire experience, and that's what they remember. You will ask a Scouter what it was, and for me, I had one experience where I was petrified in a whitewater raft. But I remember that very well, and it taught me something about myself, and you learn it. Kids will tell you about the tent that collapsed in the rainstorm, a weekend camp out that turned into a mud fest, a miserable night in low temperatures where they forgot to bring their pad or maybe their sleeping bag, but they got through it. And that's what they remember, and that's what they will tell you about. The short reference is it's character building. Well, it's not character building, but it's something that you remember, and you learn that you have the strength to get over it. Type 3 fun, we don't really talk about that much. Type 3 fun is more challenging than it was planned. Memorable. You were miserable. It might have been life-threatening. And you're thankful that you survived. We don't really talk about those too often, and we try to keep scouting from venturing into there. So, Stephen, we had type 2 fun. You will remember things about that trip. We actually had a very good crew, and we had a wonderful time. So I'm going to revisit some of that and try to convince you that it's a lot like life. So Number one, walking the trail takes intention. Every morning at Philmont, the crew had a purpose and a destination. We needed to get to the next camp so that we can do the program. And how's that like life? To get through life, you have to have goals. There are forks in the trail and you need to make a choice. Each day the crew had to navigate to their destination for the day, making a choice on how and when we needed to be there. We spent several days in the back country. Sometimes the trail was up to us. Sometimes we would stand in the middle of a field and go, okay, we can go around that mountain, over that mountain, or through that notch between those two mountains. We're standing there with a compass. And that's how we got where we went. You remember that, Stephen? We had to weigh our options, and every now and then we would get into a debate, and thanks to our crew leader, we didn't have an uprising about some of those decisions, but we got there. There are difficulties in the trail. We had a couple of difficult days on the trail. Two stick out in my mind. The first one was the afternoon that we walked through a meadow. It was pouring down rain. The wind was up. We were at about 10,000 feet. How many folks have been at 10,000 feet? It's not warm there, is it? Even in July, it was cold. And as a matter of fact, in my mind, I was thinking, if I get hypothermia, what am I going to do? Or if one of the boys gets hypothermia, what am I going to do? Because we were soaked. That was a tough day, but we found our way. We had to stop and navigate a couple of times. We found our way. Another day, worse than the day that we climbed 12,000 feet, was the day before we climbed 12,000 feet because we walked 11 miles uphill all day, 11 miles. When we got to camp, I sat down and I barely could get up. So those obstacles shaped us. We learned to work together as a crew. We made it over those. Right, Stephen? The trail changes. During the course of the trek, the terrain and the weather changed daily and seemingly hourly. We hiked through high deserts, deciduous forests, alpine forests, and mountain balds. We were on soft trails, sandy trails, and you scrambled over rocks, roots, fallen trees. We experienced warm days, rainy nights, warm nights, and cold nights. One day we walked for hours through cold, wet, soaking rain, I just talked about. And then one night we camped in a high mountain meadow, and if you looked up, you could see the Milky Way. It was beautiful. On our approach to Baldy, we stopped to have a snowball fight in the middle of July. It was awesome. Do you remember the smell of the pine trees there, Stephen? Vanilla butterscotch. That's what the Ponderosa pines smell like. You and the crew learned to adapt, and we enjoyed what the trail had to offer. In life, you have to adapt to your circumstances and continue to move forward and enjoy the trip. It takes teamwork to reach our goals. We learned to enjoy the light days and work together to overcome the challenging days. By day 4, the crew pretty much had found how they were going to work together. And this is really the critical part about Philmont, is the team coming together. Stephen, though I would have never thought it, though knowing Fred, I should have thought it, ended up being the crew cook. Every night, he wanted to make sure that we got started and we ate. And I'm much appreciative, Stephen. But the other boys picked up the other job. Somebody had to go get water. Some of the crew members had to make sure the tents and the tent fly got up. And we fell into an easy rhythm when we got on the trail. And we did that because we learned to work together. Fred's giving me the high side. Sometimes the trail doubles back so that you can reach higher ground. At Philmont, we encountered a lot of switchbacks. A switchback is basically the trail goes like this up a hill instead of like this up a hill. In life, the path is not always a straight line. Sometimes we have to take an alternate route to get to the top. And lastly, walking mindfully is often more rewarding than hurrying to the finish. Each day we had the opportunity to experience new things. We saw awesome views, rock formations, sunrises, and cactuses. You felt the sun, the winds, the rain, and the cold. You had the opportunity to meet folks from other crews and the Philmont staff along the way, and some of those folks were characters. The crew learned from each other, and the crew created a lot of memories. In life, sometimes the journey is just as important as the goal. Stephen, congratulations. I'm trying not to get weepy. He really is one of my own. On attaining the rank of Eagle, well done. I'm proud to know you, and I count you a friend. I'm going to sum up with one quote, because I know Stephen has a lot of aspirations. Martin Luther King Day is tomorrow. Here's a quote for you, Stephen. No person has a right to rain on your dreams. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Brian Hillary. When Tom was the Cub Master, I was the assistant Cub Master, and then for a while, I was the Cub Master and he was the assistant. So we have known Stephen since he was really small, which doesn't seem possible anymore. And honestly, my 3 associates took 90% of my material. So you guys are in luck. I am going to talk about, though, that there's a different style of leadership for every person, and there's a different style of life. And Stephen has been very unique, at least to me, in the experience I have had. Stephen is not a loud leader. I am a former Marine. That whole concept didn't really register with me. No, leaders are loud. We yell, we scream. That's what we do. Stephen does not. Stephen has always been leading from a quiet inner place. He gets the job done, but he doesn't yell, scream, and berate. He has led by looking at his passions. When you look at Stephen's advancement, it is bang, 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 bang. And then we hit first class, and I think we also hit travel soccer. And suddenly the passion, while yes, we still really cared about Scouts, you know what? Travel soccer is really awesome. And yes, we got some time sharing, which is actually what Boy Scouts is supposed to be. Boy Scouts is supposed to be about living a full life. And Stephen has done that really well. One of his later merit badges was aviation merit badge, which shockingly enough seems to, even though it was like a year and a half ago, that seems to have been triggered. Okay, I need to do my Eagle project now. Well, how did one go to the other? Because apparently aviation merit badge kicked it in. I want to do this. I want to do this a lot. And the ruling came down, you can do this, but you got to finish Eagle first. So Stephen has led by, these are the things I want to do, and I'm going to do them. And he does them, and he focuses, and he continues down to what he needs to be, but he doesn't get to where he's got to let someone else tell him to do this or not do this. My little favorite memory of Stephen, which is kind of messed up that this is my favorite memory of Stephen, is Stephen was from the waist down, he was one blister on top of another, on top of another, on top of another. And it all relates to what my fellow leaders were saying earlier. You know why Stephen knew how to deal with the rain? Because we had a week at Webelos camp where it rained every single day. Everything got washed out. And unbeknownst to us, and I will also let you guys in on the fact that it took me like 3 years to finally figure out Stephen and Fred and call them the correct names, because I was just bound to determine that this was Fred and that was Stephen. It just, my brain could not grasp that. And Fred has been a wonderful person to have around. Stephen has been lucky to have a family that supports him as much as they do. And luckily for me, as one of the adult leaders, Fred actually knew what to worry about and what not to worry about when it came to Stephen and his allergies. Because if it grows, it seems like Stephen would have a reaction to it. And when we had the week of straight rain, in some weird quirk, it apparently made it so that everything he was allergic to floated and got splashed onto him. And even though I looked at him and I was miserable, except he didn't complain. Yes, CJ is correct. You can look at Stephen's face and you know I'm not terribly happy at the moment, but he doesn't complain. He doesn't make it so that it's everybody else's problem. Stephen has always been a leader who led from inside. In his many titles and leadership positions he has had. And yes, the senior patrol leader is kind of the one that everyone looks at because you're elected by the entire troop. I actually look at Stephen more as the ones that he chose to do, that were not elections, where he chose to be the scribe and he chose to be a chaplain's aide. Stephen, more than most, has really lived some parts of the Scout law. All of us as Scouts try to live all of them, but some parts just come a little truer. The cheerful has been through you the entire time I've known you. The reverent has come through you in ways that I have not seen in most of our Scouts. And I appreciate that. And I hope you appreciate that God gave you that gift. Congratulations, Stephen.
Now we will invite Mr. Miller up to give the Eagle Scout charge.
Stephen, you want to come up and join me up on stage? While Stephen joins us, as you can tell, it takes a village to get a Scout up to this far. This next portion is the Scout Charge, the Eagle Scout Charge. And the Boy Scouts constitute one of the most wholesome and significant movements in the history of youth. And Stephen, you have been counted worthy of its highest rank in membership, which is that of Eagle Scout. We rejoice in that accomplishment. Your position, though, is one of honor and responsibility. This next part is about the responsibility. You now become a marked man. As an Eagle Scout, you've assumed a solemn obligation to do your duty to both God and country, as well as to your fellow Scouts, and to mankind in general. This is a great undertaking. As you live up to those obligations, you bring honor to both yourself and to fellow Scouts. If you fail, you bring down the good name of those worthy Scouts as well. Your responsibility goes beyond fellow Scouts to your country and your God. America has given you many good things, and hopefully the children after you. But these good things depend on the qualities that are instilled in her citizens. You are preparing to help take America and all she needs most for the future. We have a great past in this country. You are here to make sure that she has a great future. I charge you to undertake your citizenship with solemn dedication. Be a leader, but lead only towards your best. Lift every task you do and every office that you hold to the high level of service to both God and to your fellow man, to the finest living. We have too many who use their strength, position of power, and intellect to exploit others for selfish gains. I charge you to be among those who dedicate their skills and ability to the common good. Build America on solid foundations of clean living, honest work, unselfish citizenship, and reverence to God. Whatever others may do, you will leave behind you a record for which every Scout may be proud. Your skill sets are many. We hope to use them for good. At this point, I would like to ask Mr. Hillary to come back up and give you the Eagle Oath. Mr. Hillary?
Although I will tell you, don't take your seat, because I will ask all Eagle Scouts to please stand and join Stephen in reaffirming you in the Eagle Scout oath. Since I know when I got back into scouting, I couldn't remember this, so do you gentlemen want to come up, please? I know I couldn't remember it when I got back into scouting, so all we have to do is repeat after me.
When you realize just how small percentage of people who make it to the rank of Eagle, and you look at these gentlemen up here, it is impressive.
So, if we will all please raise the scout sign. I reaffirm my allegiance
I reaffirm my allegiance
to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
to the three promises of the Scout Oath.
I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself
I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself
the obligations and responsibilities of an Eagle Scout.
the obligations and responsibilities of an Eagle Scout.
On my honor,
On my honor,
I will do my best
I will do my best
to make my training an example
to make my training an example,
and my status and my influence count strongly
and my status and influence to count strongly
for better scouting and better citizenship
for better scouting and better citizenship
in my troop,
in my troop,
in my community,
in my community,
and in my contact with other people.
and in my contact with other people.
To this, I pledge my sacred honor.
To this I pledge my sacred honor.
Thank you. And I believe we are now. Where'd it go? Mr. Usman, if you would come up to present the award.
Stephen, you got to stay up here. Yeah, you're going to be here for a while. I'm sorry. Will your parents, Fred and Beth, please join me up here? Am I supposed to stand at the podium or can I walk? Can I move a little bit? Okay. So, of course, you too, Fred. Before I jump into the presentation of the Eagle Award, I just want to echo, I won't go long, I promise, but I want to echo what our previous speaker said, that your enthusiasm and your dedication are infectious and a wonderful, wonderful asset to have with the troop. You're always smiling and you're always ready to go that extra mile. And like we heard before, maybe not always when you were really excited about it, Philmont being the best example, but you were there. And one just quick anecdote. We talked about Stephen and his food allergies. But I will say it was a pleasure at Philmont because of that. Stephen had to bring his own meals along with him, which meant all of us got an extra helping of food to have each night. So even though we had to carry it, it was a pleasure to carry that extra helping because after a long day, we needed that extra food. But in all seriousness, I want to say, first of all, it's been a pleasure to have you, Stephen. It's been a pleasure to be your Scoutmaster. So thank you very much for having me today. By the authority vested in me, Stephen, by the National Council of Boy Scouts of America, it is my privilege to pronounce you as an Eagle Scout. The symbol of your success is the Eagle Badge, which we will now present to your mother. And I will ask that your mother go ahead and pin this on you. will present this neckerchief slide around Stevens. It is a symbol of your continuing support as he grows into. And Stephen, we present you with the Eagle Scout certificate, which is signed by the Chief Scout Executive and the President of the United States. Not done yet. Also, in recognition of your devotion and guidance provided by your parents along the Eagle Trail, we've all talked about and heard about tonight, I give you these pins. There's a pin for your mother and a pin for your father. There's also a pin for your mentor, should you choose to award that. And then BSA recently started a new recognition pin, which I think is really neat, and that's a grandparent pin. I understand. I'm going to present 4 pins today for that. You want to open this? So please join me in congratulating Stephen and his entire family.
Good morning, church. First, I'd like to thank everybody for you guys taking time out of your day and coming to my ceremony today. It's a huge honor to receive my Eagle Scout Award after 6 years of hard work and scouting. Before I begin, I would like to thank my parents for pushing me through this process. There were days where I did not want to work on the project, but they were there to encourage me. Also, my 2 sisters, Faith and Ashley, just being there for support. My grandparents for always being there, just looking to check on me every single day. Also, I'd like to thank Mr. Usman, the Scoutmaster, and all the ASMs who helped me along my way. And all my teachers who are here, thank you for being my teacher and being a mentor to me. So, And last but not least, I have to thank God for placing me in this position to speak before you all, because this would not be possible without him. This afternoon, I'm here to describe how scouting has influenced my life. During Boy Scouts, you learn many skills such as cooking, building, fires, first aid, nature, and leadership, just to name a few. Throughout my scouting career, I was very fortunate to attend a couple high adventure camps such as Philmont, a scout ranch in New Mexico, Florida Sea Base, and the Florida Keys, and the National Jamboree held in West Virginia. Out of all of these camps, Philmont has stuck with me the most. This past year, I spent my time in Scouting's Paradise at Philmont Scout Ranch in Cimarron, New Mexico. This was truly a trip of a lifetime, backpacking for 2 weeks in the Rocky Mountains. It's not everybody's first choice in terms of a dream vacation, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. Climbing up over 12,441 feet on top of Mount Baldy and being able to see everything within a 100-mile radius was extremely cool. This camp pushed me physically and mentally, which was truly a challenge. There were days where it was sunny, cloudy, rainy, snowy, and very long. Some days we hiked 10-plus miles, some days we hiked 6 miles. It was an adventure each and every day. This experience has shown me that the small things are what matter the most. Just having a conversation with someone made their person's day, or even taking on extra weight to make another person's backpack lighter. Teamwork really does make the dream work. Everyone had a specific role and contributed to the greater good to help us complete each day. Scouting has taught me to be a leader throughout my career. I've held various leadership positions with my troop that range from patrol leader, assistant senior patrol leader, scribe, and my current position as a junior assistant scoutmaster. In each position, I gained new leadership responsibilities and roles in my troop, and have had different expectations, allowing me to broaden and improve my leadership skills. Scouting is truly a boys-run organization. The Scouts are filling the leadership positions and have a responsibility to make decisions, teach and learn all skills, run the meetings and campouts. Scouting gave me a safe environment to both learn how to be successful in leadership and the challenges a leader can face. The most rewarding part of Boy Scouts was when I completed my Eagle Scout project here at this church, where I built a sensory path for autistic children. As a project manager, I had to take the lead on gathering materials, planning specific dates to work on the project, budgeting for expenses, and delegating tasks to others on the day of the project. I was challenged by overseeing a project with many moving parts. More importantly, I had to learn how to receive criticism and how to listen to others. This project was very fun, but I learned a lot along the way. Scouting has been a huge part of my life and has helped me shape the person I am today. My high adventure experiences, gaining valuable leadership skills, and all the experiences from earning the Eagle Scout would not have been possible without scouting. Eagle rank simply isn't the point where which a scout has proven he is not only a leader, but that he has a particular ambition and goals that he is willing to pursue with the leadership he has developed, proving to be a vital asset towards these ends. In scouting, we often say the road ends with Eagle. However, I think attaining the Eagle rank is just a step on the long journey ahead. Scouting has equipped me with skills and experience and friendships I need, and I look forward to applying these challenges to come and carry forth the ideals of scouting into my daily and everyday life. Thank you.
So, Stephen, you have accomplished what about only 5% of people who go into scouting have done. And you did that with the help. The closing is before? I think I'll close it. Did I mess up on the order here? Probably doesn't make sense, but we'll finish it up, and I'll turn it over to you to finish. So you accomplished this with the help of 2 amazing parents, 4 grandparents, a loving and welcoming church, and the help of Assistant Scoutmasters from a Journey to Excellence Gold Certified troop. To whom much has been given, much is expected. I look forward to seeing what you bring back to your community, and hopefully to scouting, and hopefully to stick with the troop. As a reminder of that on a daily basis, because you will not always be dressed in your Class A uniform with your Eagle stuff, the troop has purchased, this is a Swiss Army knife, it's a small piece, it is TSA free. And it has emblazoned on it the Eagle logo. I hope you carry this with you on a daily basis to remind yourself of some of the responsibilities that you have. Congratulations. So, if we may turn it over to you, please. It is for you to close out.
Well, this is quite an occasion. Made the trip from San Antonio to here, a thing of joy. I've always been proud of young Stephen, and I knew that he had a bright future ahead of him. He always seemed to know exactly what he wanted to do, and he didn't hesitate to make sure that the family knew what his dream and his goals were, and as a result, it came when I found out that he wanted to try to become an Eagle Scout. I said, well, that's par. He's a Wilson. So I'm especially proud of my grandson. Thank you.
Granddad said you're going to hear from me. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Before I give my very brief remarks, I would be remiss if we did not recognize the Lieutenant Governor of the state of Virginia, who texted me early this morning, who said he wanted to be here for this Eagle Scout ceremony. Would you receive him for just a moment as he brings greetings to us?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here today. It is an honor to be here on such a really wonderful and momentous occasion in the life of young Stephen Wilson, and really so proud of him. Actually, I was here at church. I come here a lot. This is an extraordinary church and a wonderful community. And I happened to be at church maybe a few weeks ago in the basement. And Stephen came up to me in his very confident, very kind way, and he said, I'm having my Eagle Scout ceremony on this day. You're going to be there, right? And I said, of course I'm going to be there. Of course Lieutenant Governor is going to make sure that he's there, and I promised him I would come, and here I am today. So, Stephen, thank you for the invitation, and I wouldn't miss it for the world. I won't be before you long, but I did want to share briefly just a couple of things. I want to thank our great troop leaders, thank all of the wonderful scouts and your families for all that you do to pour into the lives of these extraordinary young people, to give them confidence and hope and a brighter future, which then impacts so many other people that they come into contact with. And I'm proud to represent 8.5 million people as Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. But in this very sanctuary today, are the best values that we have in this Commonwealth and in this country. And I thank your wonderful family, Stephen. I know you'll join me in doing that. You have extraordinary parents who I've gotten to know over the course of some time. You have beautiful and wonderful grandparents. And what a blessing it is to have them in your life. I was raised in part by my grandparents, and it really was an extraordinary thing to have the benefit of that wisdom, that love, that intergenerational, what I call spiritual wealth. And so you should be very grateful and very proud to have them here today. Your wonderful sisters. I'm the youngest of four. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister, so I was the baby. And I know how important it is to have your siblings to support you, to love you, and to be there for you. So thank you all so much for what you've done to make him into the man that he is today. The couple of brief things I wanted to share with you I was here in church a little bit earlier today, and I shared briefly this story, and I think it relates to the journey that we're all on together in Virginia and in this country. And we're now at a moment where we get to determine what our future looks like as a nation. We get to decide whether or not we're going to rise to the better angels of our nature. Last year, we commemorated 400 years since the meeting of our General Assembly, where I preside over the Senate of Virginia as Lieutenant Governor. The first meeting was in Jamestown in 1619, exactly 400 years ago last year. We also commemorated 400 years since the first enslaved Africans were brought here to Virginia in Hampton, Fort Monroe, Point Comfort, also in 1619. And what that signifies are the dual strands of darkness and light that have run through the veins of the Commonwealth of Virginia and through this nation for those 4 centuries. And every successive generation has had to fight, to struggle, to determine whether or not we're going to treat each other with kindness and with respect, whether or not we're going to uphold the values that Eagle Scouts uphold of seeking the truth, of building people and communities up and not tearing people and communities down. And so that's the charge that we now have in this 400-year moment. I like to say that this is the first year of the next 400 years. So we get to decide who we will be and what direction we will go. And I think if you look at Stephen, if you look at these extraordinary young people here today, I'm very confident that our future is tremendously bright and that they will guide us to a much, much better place in our country throughout the future. And the story that I shared earlier was about my last name, and it again talks about the journey that we're all on together. You all know that my last name is Fairfax, and I did not change it just to run for office in the Commonwealth of Virginia. I'm not that smart. I was born with the name, but I shared how I got that name and how I learned how I got that name. I did not know growing up. People would ask me all the time, what is your connection to Virginia? What is your connection to the county? And my family didn't know until the week of my inauguration, January of 2018. And it was discovered that week in the old Fairfax County Courthouse right up the road, a deed of manumission, which is a deed of freedom that had freed my great-great-great-grandfather. And his name was Simon Fairfax. Simon was freed on June the 5th, 1798. He was freed more than 60 years before the Civil War by a man named Thomas Fairfax, who was the 9th Lord Fairfax, for whom all of Fairfax County and Fairfax City is named. They found that document the week in January of my inauguration. My father, who, by the way, Stephen, is also an Eagle Scout, so he congratulates you as well. I was texting him as we were here for your ceremony. My father got a copy of that document 2 days before our inauguration. He gave a copy of it to me, and I saw it for the very first time in my life 20 minutes before I walked out the steps of the Capitol on Inauguration Day to take the oath of office as the 41st Lieutenant Governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia. So I literally learned in that moment as I walked out those doors how I and my family got the last name Fairfax. I had a copy of that document in my breast pocket as I raised my right hand. And so 220 years later, Simon Fairfax's great-great-great-grandson was being sworn in as the number 2 in command of the very same state where he had been enslaved. God is good, and throughout the generations, when people pour opportunity into the lives of others, when they adhere to the values that Stephen embodies and represents, when we give our young people a chance, when we treat each other with kindness and dignity and respect, when we don't worry, and I love looking out today in the audience about the color of one's skin, their gender, how much money their family has, where they come from, what languages they speak, what zip code they live in, what God they pray to. When we treat everyone as equals and with respect, we can always get to a better place. Despite the odds, no matter how dark today may seem, tomorrow can always be brighter. And so that is the charge that you all have given to Stephen. It's a charge that we give to ourselves, to lift one another up, to be kinder, to be gentler. And when I go tomorrow to Richmond to preside once again over the Senate, and I shared this earlier, I will be there amidst, as you know, a little bit of turmoil. There'll be about 30,000 people there to protest. But what I want you to know is that I shared this earlier. I go there with no fear. I go there with courage. And I go there with the hope and with the belief that we are going to set an example for the nation and for the world. That we're going to take the values that we have here today and shine a light on them even in the midst of political darkness. So I want you all to stay encouraged. This is an incredible and a beautiful community that we have together. And if you ever doubt that for 1 second, all you have to do is look at Stephen. All you have to do is look at these young people and know that you have done something very good and that what we are doing is working. So I want you all to please be encouraged. I'm grateful to every single one of you. And you have a very wealthy young man here. And his parents might be surprised to learn that. I'm not talking about money, Stephen. You might have that too. But it's that concept that I like to call spiritual wealth. It's about the values. It is about hope and optimism and opportunity and faith. Those things will carry you much further in life than money ever could, and they will stay with you. And Stephen, when you get the kind of spiritual wealth like you have in your life that you deserve, you then have a spiritual debt that you must repay. And that's what your life is about, is making sure that other people are touched by that spiritual wealth. And you have already begun that journey. What you've done for children on the autism spectrum is phenomenal. That's something I'm going to talk about in Richmond, so your story will be heard around the Commonwealth of Virginia. But you are repaying that spiritual debt. And I want to thank you for who you are. I want to thank you for all that you've done, for your dedication, for your commitment, for the love of your family, the love of your community. I know that we are a great Commonwealth and a great society because I know the greatness that we have produced. So God bless you all. Thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lieutenant Governor. Stephen, on behalf of all of the members of First Baptist Church of Vienna, I stand just simply to say congratulations. We are so incredibly proud of you. We're so incredibly thankful for you and your stewardship, not here just at First Baptist, but beyond the walls of First Baptist and throughout this particular community. You are, as the governor has already indicated, you come from great stock, and we're certainly grateful to God for your parents, your entire family, grateful to God to have your grandparents with us here on this afternoon as well. You've done something that I was not able to do. I was a member of Troop 590 that met at Salem Baptist Church in Jersey City. I was a Cub Scout, Boy Scout, but far from an Eagle Scout. And so I envy this particular moment. But as I envy this moment again, I celebrate with you. I thank and praise God for you. And we believe that the best is yet to come. You've also taught us something this afternoon. I did not know that at First Baptist we were surrounded by so many Eagle Scouts. And so we praise God for your lives as well and how you've enriched us as a broader community. Thank you so much again, Stephen. Thank you so much to the Scout leaders. Thank you so much to this community that have gathered to celebrate this tremendous accomplishment in the life of this young man. And this is not just your moment, but this is indeed a moment that we share with you. God bless you, God keep you, and may heaven continue to smile upon you.
Now, if Mr. Miller could come up to close the ceremony.
It's a lovely day. We're going to close this very quickly. If we can have you come back up and get the color guard out. This is the official closing of the Eagle Scout ceremony for Stephen Wilson.
Now, if we can invite the color guard back up for the closing of the colors.
Color guard, attention. Audience, please rise. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, halt. Scout salute. Please put your right hand over your heart if you are not in uniform. Color guard, retrieve the colors. Color guard, return to ranks. Color guard, halt. 2. Color guard dismissed.
Hi everyone. I'm Steven's proud older sister. And of course, it wouldn't be me if I had a special tribute for my little brother. Something you didn't know is that, of course, Eagle Scouts are one of a dime a dozen, but also you are the first Eagle Scout of color, and that's something we really celebrate in the community. So I actually asked around to see if I could find more people who look just like you. And so with the help of the sound ministry, take a look.
It all started from a simple call out on Twitter. An older sister was looking for Eagle Scouts of color to encourage her 16-year-old brother, Steven, the first black Eagle Scout in his troop. She wanted Steven to see that there are more Eagle Scouts who look just like him. What no one expected was a massive outpouring of cheers and excitement from perfect strangers who were happy to spread the word and congratulations. In days, the post hit over 500 retweets and over 600 likes. Waves of comments poured in from fellow Eagle Scouts across the country, proud to see a 16-year-old following in their footsteps. Black Eagle Scouts, a small network of men, but large in pride and brotherhood.
Hey, what is up, Steven? My name is Chase Jones. I don't know if it's as freezing where you are, but it is freezing out here. But I just want to take a second just to congratulate you for your Eagle Scout, man. I saw you got it. I got mine about 11 years ago, right before I turned 18, and the fact that you did it a couple years before is just amazing. You inspired me to go grab this out of the garage. And so, man, carry this with you. Be encouraged. 20, 30 years from now, this won't be something that you did, but it's something that you are. An Eagle Scout is something you carry with you, that title, for the rest of your life. So it's amazing. The majority of boys don't do what you did, especially the majority of boys who look like us. And so be encouraged, man, and don't take this for granted. It's something amazing that you did. And so I just wanted to encourage you, shout you out. Now I got to wipe off my car because it's freezing here. But congratulations, man. Oh, also, I watched the video of your Eagle Scout project, and that was awesome. So congratulations.
Hey, Steven. This is Armand White speaking. As you can tell, went to A&T. Your sister reached out to me, and she just wanted to tell me you've done something that few have ever imagined and few have ever thought of. You have become an Eagle Scout. I'm one of them. I come from Troop 144. So congratulations, dude. You made it. Like, you made it to the illustrious few. And so with that being said, just keep working. You're going to go far. You're going to keep making strides. I heard you wanted to be a pilot. Don't forget that dream. If that's what you want to do, you can do it. I walked in an A&T with a chemical engineering degree, and I played football, so at a high level at both. So one thing I will say is the Scout oath and the Scout law has kept me through everything that I possibly can think of, and also be prepared for whatever obstacles may come your way. So keep grinding, keep moving, keep making those strides, and also congratulations, because you've done something that few can only dream of. Keep working, man, and I'm proud of you. Keep going, and keep going. Aggie pride.
Hey, man, I just got afforded the opportunity to congratulate you on achieving one of the highest honors of Boy Scout, which is achieving the Eagle Scout rank. Man, I too am an Eagle Scout, became an Eagle Scout in 2011, Troop 506. Welcome to the Brotherhood, and I always remember that a Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Congratulations, man.
Hi, Stephen. My name is Obi Adebar, Troop 5 Bronxville, and I want to congratulate you on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. I received Eagle when I was your age back in 2013, and it's an amazing accomplishment. Less than 5% of Scouts make it to Eagle, let alone Black Scouts. So congrats on being the first, and I hope many more follow in your footsteps. You had an amazing project, and I'm sure the community must appreciate you greatly for it. Good luck moving forward in life with college and working on becoming a commercial pilot. I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you're going to do great things. God bless and Happy New Year. Congratulations again, Stephen.
Hi, Stephen. My name is Nate. I'm an Eagle Scout from Troop 1965 in Fairfax, Virginia. I became an Eagle Scout. I finished my requirements in 2012, and I had my Court of Honor in 2013. I just want to say congratulations on becoming an Eagle Scout. This is a huge milestone and a really big achievement. Very proud of you for doing that. It's going to open a lot of doors and get you in a lot of really great places. And I know it's already taught you a lot of very helpful life skills. So good luck going forward. Take all that you've learned going forward. And again, congratulations.
Hi, my name is Justin Neal, and I got my Eagle Scout in December of 2013. I wanted to personally congratulate you on achieving the rank of Eagle Scout. It's a huge accomplishment. On the day that I received my Eagle Scout, my Scoutmaster told me that I was now a marked man. At the time, I didn't really know what he meant by that, but as I grew older and I got further and further away from that date, I began to get a better understanding of what he meant by that. Being an Eagle Scout can affect you in so many different ways, from applying to scholarships to even applying for jobs. And so I say all of that to say, carry it wisely. You should now be proud that you've achieved that rank. And again, I just wanted to congratulate you, and I wish you the best in the future.
Stephen, first of all, congratulations and welcome to the club. My name is Eddie Benton. I'm an Eagle Scout as of 2014 through Troop 175, best troop alive. And I'm here to give you a message, and really I want to say two things. First of all, I want to say this is not the end of your journey, it's the beginning of a commitment to honor the legacy of every Eagle Scout that has come before you. And secondly, I want to challenge you to reflect on all of the lessons that you've learned in your time as a Boy Scout, and all of the lessons that you want to take as an Eagle Scout now for the rest of your life. And I want you to pass them on to your loved ones, to the members of your community, in service of humanity as a whole. Congratulations, and there is more work to be done.
Hi, Steve. Congratulations on becoming an Eagle Scout. This is a great achievement and honor for you, and we all know that you had to work very hard to accomplish this. We want you to know that your church, your family, and your friends are very proud of you. As you know, I too became an Eagle Scout, and I would urge you to forever remember and follow the Eagle Scout oath, which directs you to do your best to do your duty to God and your country, and to always follow the Scout law, and as well to care for your family and others along the way. We are living in an extremely challenging and dangerous world today, and the oath and skills that you have learned should serve you well in your future endeavors. So we salute you today, Steve, and wish God's blessings with you always, and lots of success and love as you embark on your life's journey. We are all confident that you will continue to make us proud of you. So we extend to you today, Steve, our best wishes. May God's blessings always be with you. And again, take care of yourself, and the best of luck to you. Thank you.
Stephen, good morning. My name is Marlon Phillips, and I'm a member of First Baptist Church of Vienna, as you are also. It gives me great pleasure to say welcome to the Boy Scout Eagles Club. I was a Boy Scout Eagle and troop number 122 in Elkhart, Indiana, and I came across in 1971. That said, congratulations. You're part of a unique group of people, and we're certainly glad to have you. Take care, and may God continue to bless you.
Hi, Stephen. My name is Frederick Evans, and I live and work in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm a criminal defense attorney and also the guardian ad litem attorney advocate, representing abused, neglected, and dependent children of my county. I used to be a member of Troop 444 in Salisbury, North Carolina. And in 1983, during my senior year in high school, I achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. To this day, it is one of my proudest accomplishments. I would like to congratulate you on also achieving Scouting's highest honor. Your hard work, dedication, and commitment are to be commended. As you move forward, continue to demonstrate the values of Scouting, for they will serve you well. I understand that one of your goals is to be a pilot. Continue striving to achieve that dream, but always remember to keep God first in everything that you do. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Stephen, on becoming an Eagle Scout. Stephen, I'm Johnny Seegers, 1992 Eagle Scout and Scoutmaster of Troop 916. I'm an engineer by education. I have a degree in architectural engineering from North Carolina A&T State University, and I'm currently the Senior Project Development Manager for Salmon Corporation. Being an Eagle Scout is about two things. It's about being the best you can be in your community, soaring to heights that no other. It's also about being the best you can be in your career. It's also about helping others and doing the things in the community that set you apart from others. I wish you the best, young man. I'm very proud of you, and welcome to the brotherhood of an Eagle Scout.
As a Scout, Stephen has proven to be trustworthy. He's always told us the truth. He was honest. We could always depend on him, loyal. As a matter of fact, his parents would say Stephen would actually fuss at them or argue with them, saying, "Mom, Dad, I have to be there on time. You don't understand." They didn't understand that Stephen took the Scouts' law to the point. He was clean always. The neighbor, we said, squared away. Haircut, shoes shine, the uniform, immaculate. I called him Sir Stephen, hoping that he would walk among those dignitaries once he graduates from college. And I salute you, Sir Stephen, on a job well done.
Thank you all for coming. Please join us for refreshments in the Reverend Dr. Kenny Smith Fellowship Hall downstairs. Have a blessed day, and if we could all give one more, congratulations to Stephen.